Now, the rest of the story.
Well, we got one more hooked up, tools off, tractor and everything getting washed up because he's got to go through and check the blades and grease it. 79, she's having some issues, but we're done planning. So I'm going to go through and pull the seed out, get the seed cleaned out of it. I'm going to wash it off, but I actually am going to start top down. I'm going to clean the fertilizer tank off first, flush it, run some hot water through it, run some cold water through it, and clean all my filters, get water run through the backside here, through this fill hose, clean this filter out. Also, I don't have any of my my winterizer. I have to go to town whenever I get a chance here, sooner than later, and run some winterizer through everything so my fertilizer lines don't lock up. The bolt that we lost on one of the reveal units, all three of these bolts fell out, so I actually took one from two different units, and I put two back in, so at least this is still working. So I got to get the replacement bolts for that, just to make sure that we're sitting good there. Hydraulic downforce ran like a champ. The cooler being on the end of the planter, I actually think it was ultimately a great idea. It was kind of questioned why I'd want to put it clear out there. Well, the reason being is because it was the only place I could put it. We have so much stuff on the rest of the frame. I mean, it was either all the way over there or all the way out here on this end. And the biggest thing was, by the time I got done making the hoses, because I had to get hoses made. Granted, I didn't have to buy 100% new hoses, but the fittings and the hoses that I need them to make, the long one that goes from the PTO pump all the way back to the exit, I believe this guy goes from here all the way back to the return. That is a lie, because it goes back to the filter and then it goes back. The pressure line comes from the power takeoff all the way back and comes in right here, and then your line from this T goes down and runs the fan. So all the graphite and everything, we were worried about all of the dust and debris from the graphite and the seed dust getting all over the planter. It did, but it really doesn't affect the operation of it, because what we had it first oriented for was to actually blow more straight towards the ground, but we were still going to cover everything immediately below it, which is so-so. It's not the end of the world, because we collected enough dust as it is going across the field anyway. But rotating the fan where this port is not hitting this box definitely was a big improvement. We did raise the fan up with each of these, Calvin, oh, brain fart, you think I could say that so quickly, spacers, and we raised that up to get it out of the way. Overall, everything ran great. In the last acre and a half, I think the barrel, I can actually do it here without creating a mess, and that is exactly what it's doing. Can you guys see that? The barrel on the inside there, it's actually stuck in. So if the spring is broke internally, I'm not sure. But what happened was, when the tractor's running, that is throwing out constant pressure. Well, my raise and lower was on this SCV plugged in to this port. Then what happened was, when that gave, oh no, I don't know which one goes where. When that gave, we didn't know, or it wouldn't allow the planter to drop down because it was putting constant pressure out to the wheels. So every time I'd try to drop it down, it was just fighting itself because it was canceling itself out. But a new barrel is 120 bucks. We'll get that replaced. And we're gonna go through, I'm actually going to cable tie so I know where everything's supposed to go. These hoses in particular, these are already done. So these are the frame, they're cable tied together and they're labeled. One cable tie means to the left, 2 cable ties means to the right. So that way, for the raise and lower, for your fold, this is, I actually gotta go back and watch this video now. One hose is set to be continuous flow, like on a hydraulic pump, and the other one is basically just supposed to hold pressure, not to really be used. But the way I had it set up is when I would push the SCV3 and the SCV into detent, it would run non-stop. But then when I wanted it to stop, I could go through and push it all the way ahead to float, so that way I wouldn't damage everything going on back here, because it actually is running our generator and our hydraulic downforce. I gotta go through and I gotta unhook the batteries, get the battery cables unhooked, clean everything else off, grease it, winterize it, pull all of the seed discs out of every single unit, clean all the seed out of every single unit. And next year I'm probably going to go through and replace the seed discs. I might do it this summer, honestly. I got to look at them a little bit closer to make sure that everything's in spec there. The reveal row units, that's got the wheel on the back side of them, there's a scraper kit to keep the mud off of the wheel. I guess my agronomist has that ordered. Because of the hydraulic downforce, I'm going to be watching the parallel arms more, watching for any play in the bushings there, so I don't have to worry about the row units, you know, wobbling or walking as we're driving. Because the average speed that I was running was 6 miles an hour. 6.2, 6.4. The last farm I averaged 4, just for the amount of turning that I had to do, because by the time I would turn around, drop down and get going, I was already picking it back up and turning. But with the electric drives, the reveal row units are huge. The reason I say that is because when they're hooked to the frame, the row units aren't bouncing and feeling all the shock that the row units are getting when you're hitting rocks. Yes, we have rocks. I did try to pick up as many as I can. You do it every single year. But what they do is they actually really good at kind of shushing the rocks off to the side, so the row units themselves aren't hitting anything. The Schlegel closing wheels, the Wave, work great. I mean, putting the liquid down through the Wave 1/4 of an inch away from the seed trench is super nice. Our emergence on our soybeans is the best it's ever been. Our singulation on our soybeans is the best it's ever been. Our corn, I went and checked the first corn that we planted. That is literally right at the surface. I actually found 1 or 2 that were just really thinking about breaking the surface, and the spacing on them, everything that I dug so far on the first field. So I mean, I didn't exactly have it dialed in the best on the vacuum, because I had the vacuum set too high. I was getting a few more doubles according to the monitor. But overall, I'm thinking the months of stressing about getting this thing up and running, and the constant tedious looking for parts and hydraulic fittings and everything else, we won't know for sure if it was worth it until this fall and we see what kind of yields we get. But the 79 and this planter setup complement each other beautifully, absolutely beautifully. I mean, it was a lot of fun to run. I mean, that's what makes your days go by a lot faster too, is when you're actually looking forward to being able to run, and more comfortable cab, more comfortable ride, more comfortable transmission. I mean, a CCS, central commodity system, which is essentially a big seed bank on top, it's about the only improvement we could do. But then for us, you're looking at a different planter altogether, and this one is going to be around for the foreseeable future. But I'm happy. If we ever update planters, it's going to be set up just like this one. I don't know what else that they could really come out with that would make me want to upgrade to be honest, because there's different closing systems other than the waves, but we were getting all of our seed covered as we were driving. I mean, the Schlegels were the finishing touch, but if the Schlegels weren't there, the seed was still getting covered. So I'm super happy. But we're still in May. I'm gonna go through and do this. Gonna get the 79 as close to ready to go for hay as we can. I don't know what we're gonna use it, if it's gonna be for raking or probably not gonna be for cutting hay. I gotta get the 7600 out, go get the other mower, get the 82 off the VT and get that on my baler. Kind of go through everything because I think we're gonna be trying to cut hay here in the next day or two. Largely because close enough to being ready to go, but yours truly, I think I have one bale, I have one hay bale left up here for my cows, and I think I have 7 left down at my place, and that's it for my hay supply for the year. So I cut it kind of close. I do have a bunch of that oatlage wrapped seeding stuff from last year. I mean, I know the cows will nose through it, but it's largely going to be put out like the corn fodder is for bedding. I'm going to let them lay on it, chew what they want. It's biomass. It's let them poop on it, let it decompose, and we're going to haul it back out this fall as fertilizer, which I think is appropriate, because I'd rather make 100% of everything that's available within reason. And if it isn't really the best of feed, it makes bedding. If it doesn't make bedding, the cows will make it fertilizer. So thanks for watching, guys. All right, well, I'm going through and cleaning this out, or the planter out, and I really needed to show you guys exactly what one of the issues is with these belt delivery systems. It's not a bad issue, but it's something that can be a problem that I never even considered until we were actually planting, because we had, when I was planting beans, I had this issue. And then ultimately on the last farm that we were planting, I had a lot of waterways with a lot of standing grass, stems, whatever. I mean, a lot of soybean stubble too, but this is the issue. Each one of these belts goes right down to the ground. Well, what else is down at the ground? Dirt, weeds, junk. And this is the 3rd unit now. It gets stuck down in behind that belt and it has nowhere to go. This is the 3rd piece of material I found in these units. Now if you can see, 1, 2, 3, 4. So 3 of 4 have had residue in them on the top of the meters. Didn't see it on the monitor. You will if it's significant enough. I had, well, this was it right here. I actually had this on the top of this meter. So I mean, it'll pull up some pretty big pieces of junk, and it's something to keep in mind as an operator of this system, this unit, is you're potentially going to pick up more than what you're bargaining for. I mean, I really didn't think I have to worry about picking up stuff going through waterways, but I don't know, the more you learn, the more you run them.